of fearing them is one. But what does that child grow into? Does it grow understanding that men are meant to beat women?
Yeah, like, you know.
So he becomes bitter. The child becomes bitter.
Sure.
Two, then he also becomes he's complex. He changes. He becomes an introvert because he starts fearing every time he's scared that he doesn't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So he's always scared. Three, he becomes very sympathetic to his mother. So he loves his mother so much out of protection that there's no other woman that can even come into his life because the mother also protects him and feels.
So he's like a cocoon.
Yeah, sometimes it's also a very dicey place because I've seen that kind of thing where a boy is so affected by what he saw his father doing that his life becomes him and his mother. And then the mother becomes so protective that she also affects his relationships. That anyone who wants to come close to the son, she always protects because this is the only person who was there to stand with her. I don't know if you've seen such experiences. And have you?
I wanted to connect before, Kevin. I'm sorry, Kevin, I've been interrupting you for very.
No, but it's a good topic here.
Yeah. There is also another one trauma that comes with a child or maybe a boy going to their father's closet and they find knives, swords, guns, and you're like, I would normally see these things on TV only just directed to cause fight, to cause harm to everyone. So we were growing up knowing, oh my goodness, so my dad under such kind of a business or something like that, and then sometimes even he sees his dad using the same type of weapons to attack other people. So it becomes a threat to them. And maybe now they were growing up knowing that for self-defense I should always walk with a knife. For self-defense I should always have a gun. That one will trigger that one time. Now this child grows, and that's why you find that nowadays in the society, you find that as a child will grow knowing that, Dad, I want certain type of a thing. If then you don't give me, I'll go to your closet, I'll take your gun, and I will kill myself. Now you see, that's now another culture that is being brought up to this. Now, maybe you can say something, and then Kevin can say so that he may be able to tell us.
I wouldn't say I've encountered personally the childhood trauma. But I think it contributes to some to a lot, because you see families where maybe, and it's not only about now, because there's this also a notion that I'd like for people to stop having. It's not always the fathers who have the issue, because in most cases, and to be very honest, most people don't understand the man. Yes, I'm not saying the battering or anything is, but let's say, aside your mambo beating the woman, and that's not acceptable. But say like the fights. In a relationship, fights are normal, yes? But in most cases, you find these traumas to some extent are triggered by parents themselves towards these children. Like you see, let's say the guy has come home.
When you say fights are normal, what do you mean fights are normal?
Like in a relationship, you're two different people. So there is no way we are on the same page.
Fights as a word, whether it's verbal or physical.
No, it's a verbal,
yeah. Okay.
Not physical.
So basically what you're saying, fights is the disagreements.
Yes, the disagreements, yeah. So in most cases you'd find, let's say for example, if I'm in a relationship, if we're having a scuffle, it can't be I'm the only one who's contributing for us to have that scuffle. It's a two-sided thing. And in most cases, children grow up knowing ni mzee ananisha hizi mambo. Not trying to understand, na hii hata kama maybe fine. The issue was, ikitu ili escalate aje ikakuja. There has to be another contributing factor, because it's not a one-way thing. So to some extent, I think, this childhood trauma could be triggered by parents themselves, either the mother or the father. So you find if maybe mtoto close to the mother, anaambiwa, shida ni mzee. And then maybe if they're close to the father, anaambiwa, shida ni madam. So I think to some extent it's a trigger. It's triggered by parents, and it's important for guys to try understand both sides. I mean, I think it could help a lot in curbing such things like the crouching up now of bipolar, because now once you start understanding certain things from both angles, you start to see, okay, to some extent, a verbal argument, it makes sense. It's normal. You start understanding it's normal. It's not always one-sided. So I think if you try understand, you'll get to know the trauma will not be there as much as it
Can
will
I
be there.
connect just something before to what Kevin has said? When he's saying that most of the times we try to understand that in as much as we are leaning on the side or the male figure, that is the one who is always violent on what he's saying. In a family setup, we'll always have we have the mom, we have the mother, and we have the dad. And you know, in a family setup, there are rules and there are bylaws that a husband expects that their wife should cope up with them. And if they fail not, there are always consequences. So if in as much as the female gender, they come up and they break the rules, now the male figure feels like, no, I have to do something so that this one can happen. So that means
So he does
the
what?
fight
So what does he do?
triggered from the female and transferred to the male. Like now the mother will be, okay, to some extent they will say that we never did it intentionally, but we also want to see what is the reaction. So you find that the reason as to why men are always on the bad side is because now, I don't say that they test their wit or why they want to test their passion, something like that, you know. They want to see their reaction. So we don't see the reactions on the mother side, we only see the reaction on the father side. Not to say that sometimes women they are not violent, because in some communities they come up and they fight their husbands brutally. And they even go to an extent of cutting off their knee. Now you find that now child, mamangu anakata mzae nini, anamfanyia hivi, so you tend to understand.
Okay, but I think what I'm getting to is that, and maybe this is an advice to all us parents, is we need to be very careful where we disagree, and at what point we need to go into the closet and disagree in the closet, but not in front of the children, because once we do it in front of the children, then you tend them to grow with bitterness, because they have seen and they react to what they see. So I think, as you said, disagreements are there. As you said, there are some rules that have to be followed. But I think it's more important that some of these things are dealt with in the closet. And mostly the closet is in the bedroom. Lock yourself in the bedroom, talk about what you're going to talk, and not expose your children to this. But you see, in most ways, as you said, you'd find sometimes the mother wants to get sympathy. And as you were saying where the mother was saying that huyu ni mzee ndio mbaya. So what happens is she wants to get sympathy from the children so that she can get a way to protect herself, and she would actually want to do that in the public when the children are there. And says she would kuja unyipige unyame, then the children are watching. You know, for them, and the man would wonder, you're doing this in front of the children, and what are you trying to show them? And then in that he would react. And if he does not react, she can provoke, and provoking by throwing something to him, and it starts, and the children start wondering, this is how fights are. And that's why you find a lot of nowadays, a lot of people are very single, because girls ask themselves, why should I get involved with a relationship? I saw my mom and dad fight. I don't want to be beaten. I don't think relationships are very good. Yet it is the way it was. They grew up, and the child trauma that they got. But also another thing that we also need to look at, the society is changing. We're calling it civilization, but there's something I always tell people. In the non-civilization, or the older days, getting into marriage was a serious commitment. Nowadays, you go to a disco, meet a spouse, or you meet a girlfriend, and you want to get married to her. You don't understand the background of this woman, where they are coming from. Maybe in their homes, as you said, it comes from a family that they beat men. So you think you found a very pretty young guy, just know you'll be sorted out, because it falls in their generation. And even maybe when she goes home, my auntie asks her, because it's an exercise in the exercise within the family that they do. But you see, in the older days, it was you come, Lovey, you're in school or you're in college or you're somewhere, you see a girl, and normally people used to get married within the villages. But nowadays, with this intermarriages and the people moving around the country, people are marrying from all over the place. But in those early setups, was you want to get married, the first person you tell is your auntie. You tell your auntie, I've just seen Mwikali, who seems to be a very good wife. So you bring Mwikali to your auntie first. Your auntie watches her and says, oh, I don't think she's a bad girl. So where are you coming from? So your auntie does the integration she does the interview with Mwikali, and then now decides to go and look for that family. It could be a place where she goes to the river and meets Mwikali's auntie. And Mwikali's auntie tells her, oh yeah, we have this daughter. Yeah, I saw her come with my son. Oh, that's your son who comes home escorting her in the evening. I meet them when I'm coming from the river. That conversation goes on. Now she's able to analyze and look at the back root of this family. What kind of people are they? Are they bipolar? Do they go mad at night? Do they beat men? Or then out of that reaction, she's able to come and tell the mother. And tell the mother, your son wants to get married to a girl on that side of the ridge. So then the meetings start. Now the advantage of that is that when there's a disagreement, you don't sort it out yourselves. Your auntie can come in as the buffer. Because even ourselves, you find, like today, if you wanted to get married, who would be your best man? Just answer that question. Who would be your best man? Today you're getting married. Hey, who would you choose as your best man? Just who? Okay, let me ask you. Who would you choose as your best man? Your best man, your best friend. Whether he's married, whether he knows how to marry, you don't know.
As long as
that's
you're
your
my
guy.
friend, that's my
You
guy.
who would you choose?
I would choose someone who is, I would just, to be honest, I would say mentor.
You're one of the few. A lot of us choose our best friends. And even our spouses, the brides, choose their best friends. So you find this is just another multiple relationship of a young generation that is trying to understand what is in marriage. Your best friend may not be married. Maybe she's getting married after you. So she's not yet married, so she doesn't know about marriage. And if anything, you go to her and tell her, he talked to me very bad last night, then she'll get out. It's very easy for you to be pulled back. Even her, she decides, I'm going to put the handbrake on my marriage with that guy, the other guy, because I'm seeing this is not a good thing. It's not working with this guy. Same with your homie. Your homie will be like, hey, man, what's wrong with you, man? Why would she tell you that? So you come out, you go and drink. Now he takes you out the whole night, even you end up sleeping at his house. So what does it bring? It multiplies the effect. So what does your wife do? Your wife starts hating your best man. And yet he's your best friend. Now this becomes either him or me. And when those things start coming,
it's a problem.
They are very dicey, because then you have to choose. Is it a family you're looking for? Is it friendship you're looking for? And that's what I'm saying. Say those kind of things, it is important, as you are saying, to get an elderly person who has experience in marriage. And you've seen their marriage work for them to be able to be your best friend. Because those are the people now, in case of a trigger, he could tell you this is what happens, you trigger off here. This is what happens, you relax here. But if you have no one to tell that, you will go by what you've read, what you hear, and what you think. And sometimes it's very nasty. And that's why you find there are a lot of breakups. Someone's married 6 months out, 6 weeks out, because there's no patience. And the patience is brought up by your couples that are normally your best people. I just want us to sum up this by just saying, so have you seen where bipolar comes in and why it's become a major thing this month? Because these are the things that are causing it. From the childhood, the way you were brought up, from the family ties, to stress within your bringing up. Maybe
the last thing, just before we wind up, I would think so it will also help a lot of people. And when you talk about the childhood trauma, there are other young children that have been brought up, and maybe they were brought up knowing that their mother in that family is the breadwinner. The father doesn't, he is not. So the mother, because now she's the breadwinner, you're the one to wash the clothes, you're the one to clean the utensils. So now this child, when this child goes to another family, they find that now the mother is the one who does this task. When it goes to another family, now the child started comparing both the two things. And now they are in their home, babangu ndo anaoshanga hii. Now when they go and play and now they start discussing that, angalieni huyu baba yenu ndo anaoshanga. No, the child, that is the one who washes clothes, the one who is.
But you see, when you look at such things, it is not bad for the woman to be a provider.
Yeah, sure.
But it's important for the woman to be able to read Proverb 31, which is the Proverb 31 woman. It outlines things that even women used to provide. She's the one who used to make the clothes for the man, and all that is provided. But what we've lacked is that once a woman starts providing, she lacks respect for the man.
Yeah.
Very true.
And which is a very sad place, because we're going to school at the same time. We're schooling in the same colleges. We're having the same opportunities. And sometimes you could be luckier to get an opportunity before me. So you don't look down on me. All the best things to encourage me. And also look at what is the role of a man in a marriage and what's the role of a woman. It's not about the money, who brings the money. It's about how do you complement one another. Because as you're saying, if for instance, you're the breadwinner and your husband is not having any money, the automatic thing you can do is to cover him. So the children don't know where the money comes from. And you just keep on telling him, boss, I think it's not good for the kids to wake up and find you awake. Let's go together. Whether you're dropping me at work, we'll come back together. So the children don't know, they don't understand who is not working, but you cover the man. But if you have to leave and say, already, what you're doing, you're digging a bad seed into those children.
Yeah.
And that seed is what now the children later overreact. As you're saying, as the man grows, the boy child becomes very low in terms of ego, because he has seen the man also being pressed down by the woman. And it's important for us to be able to understand we complement one another in marriage. And it's not about who brings the money, it's how best you can make decisions to use this money to better your lives and be able to cover each other. Because at the end of the day, what a woman can do, a man may not do. What a man can do, a woman may not be able to do. So I think it's important to balance that and be able to grow families that are all rounded and anchored with biblical doctrines, which now will be able to give a lot of respect in the relationship.
So as we sum up maybe now, what can we start doing so that we may be able to, do away with this bipolar thing?
What I'm seeing, and I think it should be a discussion for us to be able to get over bipolar, because we have seen the causes are caused by how you grew up and what you're going through, is people need to be encouraged to keep talking. I think the more you talk, the more you get off that stressful point. Because if you don't get off that stress, because something you kept in your mind or in your heart, you will always one day have to remove it. As one counselor one time told me, every action has a reaction. Something that happened to you, you have to react to it. And so it's important for us to be able to say, people need to speak out. Let us listen to each other. And let's not think that anyone who's talking about their problem is weak. Actually, it's even stronger to talk about your issues than keep them to yourself. But a lot of times, you think it's a harder thing to keep it to yourself, so you're being a hard guy. But it's just going to mess you up. So because your body, people need to cry where you need to cry. People
where you need to cry.
Where you need to cry. Where you need to cry.
Yeah,
but it's important to be emotional because you're human. It's important to talk about your issues. It is human. A lot of things that we have as a man, men have this problem. When you go out with your friends, you go to listen to football. It's not cancelling any one of you. The women, when they go out, they go do their hair and they gossip about the men. We, when we go out, you're trying to, from the minute you're saying you're the boys, you're trying to who's going to score who, and you go home drunk. So when you get home, you have not sorted out your problems, you have not listened to anyone, you have not talked to anyone, you've just been trying to listen to watch a game or something. But the ladies are different. When she purposes to walk into a salon, she's purposing to go and upload her head. If she's going there for an hour, she will talk to as many people as possible. Those who want to listen, those who care to listen, those who care not to listen. But by the time she gets out of there, she's refreshed and ready to meet the next challenge. But for men, we keep on just putting it in, and that's what we're teaching our boys. Men are not meant to cry. But at the end of the day, these men are becoming very bitter men. And in that bitterness is what you're finding the reactions of the depressions we're in. Anything else?
I'd also say, the talking parts, you also need to understand who you're talking to, because not everyone is in your corner because they want to help you. Some are just there to bring you down. So you'll find you're talking to someone huku nje ndo anakuongelea vibaya. So you can't tell someone, hey, I'm going through this and this and this, and then huku nje you hear, na naambia tu jamaa hata anakusho nini, jamaa hata hezifanyia 1 2 3, what can this guy? So you need to know who exactly.
Now, how do you identify who to talk to, who not to talk to? Let me give you a formula about life. It's not about too much time on who to speak to and who not to speak to. One formula I use, and it has worked out for me for a long time. If anything hurts me, I don't like it. I throw it out. If, like, for instance, if you came to me and we had a problem with you, I would not want to leave that room or that conversation without throwing it back to you, because I don't want to carry it alone. Let's share this burden. If you're the one who created this burden, let's share the burden. How you will take it from me is not an issue. I've outloaded it. Whether you go and talk about it
or not,
it's okay. But for me, I downloaded it. Okay, what you can be sensitive about are your personal things, but there are things that are so general that you can speak to anyone who cares to listen. Because you can't keep on sitting and saying, I may tell this guy, he may tell somebody. People will talk whether you like it or not. Whether you say it or not, the day you go crazy or you have bipolar, they say, this guy was just finding himself, he thought he was a hard guy. Look at how now he's just in hospital taking drugs. Look how he's looking. And yet these are the same guys you are trying to say, do I tell him or I don't tell him? So sometimes if you can't get that kind of environment within friends, then you have the wrong friends.
Yeah.
If you can't get that environment within family, then you should then actually sit back and think the family is not very supportive. And thirdly, you have a church, you have pastors, you have counselors. Talk to them. Talk to them. It's important just to speak.
Also
Don't
learn.
keep it to yourself.
Also get to know both sides of the story. Don't always rely on one side of the story. It may not be the truth. Once you have both sides of the story, now you can judge on how to.
But one thing I also want to tell you, as a young man, also as you're growing, don't care or don't feel bad who will talk about you, because people will talk anyway. When you were born, they must have said Kevo was born. Kevo was born with long ears. Kevo was long with long lips. So you were talked about. It's just maybe you didn't hear. And as you were growing, maybe you grew. Kumbe was going to become this black. So people talk about you. So throughout your life, people will talk about you. So don't care about what people talk. It's for you to continue staying focused and keeping to the goal. Because people will definitely call. Until the day you die, then they will talk about it and say, but then guess what? Kevo has died. From there, maybe they will either talk about you in your absence, but they will not cease talking about you. For the good things you did or the bad things you did. So about talking, it should be the least of your problem. The most important thing is to self. Self first. Is this thing going to kill me? Going to hurt me? Let me throw it out. Whoever listens may want to listen, fine, but it's no longer in me. I have talked it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this conversation it's endless, and we cannot come to conclusion and say that now we have ended this story and there is no more. Because even to that, thinking of maybe on my own ways, I can also say that hunger is something else which is also triggered a lot of people to fall into bipolar. Controlling your hunger, and kuna wale tu ambao asira tu natoka tu from nowhere, kukanyagwa tu kidogo. Even if when someone tells you sorry, you feel sorry is not enough. Just have to speak it out, and then out of it you draw a lot of exaggerate, and it becomes.
That's carrying baggage. Why people react like that is because they've carried too much baggage. When you're carrying baggage, you will definitely release it in different ways. You talked about the wall. It could even be just in a matatu you're sitting, and someone just sits. Now unaangalia hivyo kwa nini? And you're wondering,
Hey bro,
where is that from? So it is. I think we burden ourselves by carrying too much, and maybe it comes from what you are saying, fear of who to tell.
Yeah.
But tell anyone anyway. Let it get out of you.
Acha kushikilia
Because I remember at one
Kwa
given
sana
time
mtu achilia tu.
nilikuwa tunaingia kwa matria, and then the front seats they are always normally two seats, and most of the people, kuna wengine ukikuja wanakupata ndani, lakini hutaki kukaa ile seat ndogo, unataka kukaa hivi. And then so mimi nakuja nakaa chini hii seat ya mimi nimeingia wa kwanza, then naona madam ndio unakuja kuingia na anafungua mlango, ananiambia madam pita ukae huko, wewe songa ukae huko, and I'm like wait, umenipata hapa, and then now you are telling, you are forcing me like the vehicle is yours. So this madam unakaa kama ukai. So simply because now she was just for the respect, mimi bidi imagine nimesonga naye amekuja kukaa.
That's what I'm saying. People are carrying too much, and I think people need to loosen up, easen up about life. It's never that serious, and it's good to look at things and say, if it doesn't work today, let's pray tomorrow it may work. Yeah, because I think that's what we are carrying. We're carrying too much baggage and too much annoyance, too much anger from the past things that happened, and it's important just to keep on just moving on, refreshing yourself, refreshing your mind, and move on, because you cannot carry enough. If anything, that's what will bring you down. Either you will get sick mentally, or you will get sick physically, or you will get sick emotionally. Something will always be wrong, and it's important. And that's why it's important. Sometimes people say, look for heavy exercises which can get you off that stress. You could be able to run 20 kilometers, or just go to the top of a mountain and just scream your head off.
Lift weights.
Whatever. Do boxing, something that will just get you off energy, that will be able to get that emotion out. Because if we don't do that, we are stuck up with so much of things that we're carrying.
And also, always look at the positive side of life. Achana mambo ya negative. Just try to look at there has to be something positive in everything. So
Even one thing we need to look at is creation. As we are sitting here, I'm sure we are thinking, where are we going to get lunch from? How are we going to eat our supper? The birds that have been flying here since we sat here, do they care about that? So who takes care of them? It's a creator. It's a creator. So one thing we need to understand, that we were created for a time as this. And God knows exactly how you started and where you're going to finish.
Yeah.
And sometimes we carry his burden with ourselves instead of going back to him. And that's why we are told every morning, just pray. Bring your needs to him. Tell him, today I'm planning to do ABCD. Please guide me. Open ways for me. Give me favor. And once you do that, the rest God handles. But when you want to carry your own baggage, I'm sure he watches and says, let's see how far you go with this. And there's a Japanese saying that says that it is important. I was talking to a Japanese guy one time, and he told me, let me tell you something. Japanese, in every meeting they have, they stand up and pray. They're very religious on a superpower.
Yeah.
But why? Because they say, if you start superpower, then the superpower, God just looks back and says, you want to do it yourself? Let's see how far you get. And you run up and down. But if you have guidance, then you're able to do things lesser, easier, and also with less stress. And that's why I'm saying, let's look at the bats. And if they can survive and don't see them falling, it tells you we overstress ourselves. And what we need to live for is today. Tomorrow we are not knowing. How many of us know that you will sleep and wake up? And I like when the Muslims say, Inshallah, when you're telling a Muslim, so we'll meet tomorrow at 6:30. He tells you, Inshallah. Because it's not your will.
No.
It is the will of God, whether you wake up or not. So sometimes we stress on things, we forget what we are going through here, and stress about things that are too far for us. And yet we know that life is a day at a time. Live it a day at a time. With this kind of stressful life we're living, to stay sane, just live a day at a time. And just know there's a creator who brought you to this world, and who will see you through whatever you need to go through, so long as you work on it. Yeah.
So that is it for today, my viewer. Thank you very much for always stay tuned. We are still demystifying mental health. We cannot exhaust. This is a very huge topic and it needs a lot of attention. So I've been your host, Daniel Lovi.
Joe Kithiaka.
And Kevin.
Let's meet in the next episode as we'll be discussing another effect of mental health. Mental health
is your mental wealth.